All right. Hello. Welcome to what I say this was 152 now.
152.
152. Gen 2 has
152.
started.
152.
Yes. That's what we've
Yeah.
learned.
Yes.
I've learned from last time that that's how the Pokemon numbers work. It's correct.
hmm
So,
That's
that's
right.
good. I'm gaining knowledge, very useful for me. But
Yes, I'm sure. Yeah. You're going to become a Pokemon speedrunner yet, right?
yeah. Anyway.
Right. Yeah. That's about the answer I expected. Yeah. Yeah.
So, Sunday Speedrunner Spotlight. If you're watching
hmm
live, welcome. It is what is it? December 30th. If you're watching on YouTube, this is uploaded a week and a half after this has been recorded. So the point of that is GDQ has just ended. Hopefully it went great.
Yeah.
Yes.
I can't believe we raised $7 million.
Holy
Wild.
shit no.
Yeah. Wild.
That's
I'm just going to
crazy.
bring it into existence. Yeah.
Exactly. So, yep, just to give the time frame of things. Um But yeah, anyway, I think that's all the intro I need to do. So, how about you introduce yourself?
Gladly. Yeah. My name is Conception. I'm a speedrunner. I've been speedrunning for many years, probably starting back in 2015 or 16. Um, I I also work for Games Done Quick. We just alluded to a GDQ ending. I work for GDQ as both a social media assistant, and I'm also one of the members of the games committee, people who help select the games for the schedule and manage incentives and all that. And yeah, I also work in the video game industry, separate from that as well, as a communications lead for a video game called Walkabout Mini Golf. So, yeah, my life, I live and breathe games, as it turns out.
Is that the VR mini golf game that most
That
people?
is,
I
yeah.
think I played it. So there you go.
Yeah, yeah. It's a great game. It's a great if you have a VR headset, and not I'm not even shilling as from like a business perspective, but like it's just a really good VR title. I highly suggest playing it. It's really fun.
I've messed around with a friend once, but it's hard
hmm
to get people that all have VR headsets at the same time.
That's the truth. That's the truth. That is the hardest part for sure.
Someday, but
hmm
yeah, no, it was fun. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't use VR all too much, but like the whole thing of it is just fascinating because it really
Yeah.
does feel like you're there somehow. I don't
Yeah, it'll get you. It'll get you. Even I mean, I've been at this job over a year now, but even sometimes I turn a little too quick and I feel like I'm gonna fall over. So,
know. Yeah, I
yep.
get that. Yeah, I know it's hard to like figure out motion for a lot of that stuff. Although a lot of
hmm
I think even that game uses the whole like, you target a location then teleport.
Yeah, yeah. I actually think the motion in that game is a lot more comfortable for people, say if they have like motion sickness issues or struggle in moving in VR environments. It's a great one because you can kind of move in your own locomotion, turn at your own will,
Hmm.
move forward at your own will. I control your speed so you don't feel like you're going crazy, like wild speeds or anything like that. So,
Hmm.
yeah, it's a great one.
Okay. Well, glad we hit our first tangent already. We can get back to
Yeah, yeah, we already got there.
hey, that's the show runs on tangents. I've been saying
Got it.
this. So, we can get back to you, I guess. That is
Okay.
kind of the main topic of things today. So,
Sure.
you started about a decade ago now, sounds like.
Oof.
So,
Yeah. Yeah,
so,
putting it
sorry to
in
put that in
numbers like
there.
that is
Yeah.
wild. Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm getting there
Ancient.
too. But
Yeah, yeah.
how did you find out about the concept and get started?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. So, I knew about Twitch first, and like live streaming video gameplay, and around this time, like in this 2015-ish era, I was really well, I have always been, but I was particularly into Pokemon a lot to the point that I had learned about Twitch. I had friends who had started streaming, and I was like, you know what? I want to stream some Pokemon. I want to. I've been playing Pokemon a ton. I want to stream it for people. So I started streaming it just like casual playthroughs. Like my plan was to just go through the series essentially, starting with the Red and Blue, and then just moving through it. And when I was playing Red and Blue, I had somebody come into my chat, and their name was Anal Pikachu. Which the name is the hilarity of the name aside, and I'm not, and I swear it was Anal Pikachu. Don't know how that got by, like Twitch standards, but it's probably been clapped since if I had to guess. But they're a very nice individual. They came in, they're like, oh hey, it's cool to see people streaming like retro Pokemon. Have you ever considered like speed running Pokemon? And then they kind of showed me, sent me like a couple VODs of people in the space who had done speed runs of Pokemon Red and stuff like that. I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Started watching a couple of those creators and stuff like that too, and I was like, you know what, this seems neat. I'm gonna give it my own shot. And then I started learning Pokemon Red any percent glitchless as my first speed run. Speed ran that for many years as well. And yeah, and that just kind of opened the floodgates. It started there, and kind of just at that point, it was what other game from either like my childhood or that was really capturing my interest at the moment. I would start looking into speedrunning and looking into the strategies and seeing if it was something I wanted to do. And that, yeah, the floodgates were opened by Anal Pikachu, as it turns out.
I don't know if floodgates opening is the picture I want for that username, but
They're wide
okay.
open. Yeah, yeah.
Eh,
Unfortunate. They're there now. So
Anyway.
yeah, yeah.
Oh
Move on
boy.
from that as quickly as possible. Yeah, let's not tangent on that idea. Maybe.
Yes. So did you stick with your casual series stuff, or
Absolutely not.
no, it
No,
went
no.
straight to
I
that?
think I got through. Yeah, I think I got through. I think I played through Gen 2. But then by that point, like I was playing through Gen 2 casually. I was learning the speed run for Gen 1, and I was like, I was just fully grabbed. By the time I'd
Mhm.
finished Gen 2, I was like, I'm going to start streaming my speed run attempts of Gen 1. And that was it for me. Yeah, that was it. I started pretty much exclusively streaming speedrun content aside from that.
Yeah. Sounds about right. I've heard
Yeah,
speedrunning's a little bit
usually.
addictive, so
Yeah, it really grabs you. And then here we are, a decade later, which, yeah, putting it in numbers is kind of wild. But yeah, a decade later, and here I am still talking about speedrunning and how it affects my life. So,
yep. Once you're pulled in, you're here forever,
hmm
which, isn't a bad thing, but
no, no,
it
I mean, heck, I'm kind of making a career out of it. It's not my main source of income or anything like that. I'm not like a full-time streamer, but like I said, I work for GDQ. I get to go to these events. I earn money, through speedrunning and the act of like raising money through speedrunning. So, yeah, I mean, like it's not only like a part of my life, it's kind of like changed the trajectory of my life at points. So,
living the dream.
yeah, yeah, not too bad.
So you stuck with just Pokemon uh Gen 1 for a while?
Yeah, to start. So I had speed ran Pokemon Gen 1 for a while. I kind of like dominated my brain for a while. I learned a couple of games, prior I'll disclaimer this prior to, learning about J.K. Rowling's
Oh, yes.
infamously turfy behavior, which I absolutely do not condone, fully against that and have stopped since. But I back in the day, 2015, 2016 era, I had speed ran a couple of Game Boy Color Harry Potter games as well. Dropped those as soon as all this stuff happened because I have way too many trans friends and care infinitely more about them than some video game or some franchise. So, um, dropped all that. But I had at the time done speedrunning of those games too. Um, and then yeah, probably around like 20. So around 2016, I had like a big life change event where I moved like from like across the country and like I changed career paths and stuff like that. So that knocked me out of like any form of streaming, speedrunning, content creation for about like a year and change. But then I came back and I picked up Pokemon Red again, started running Pokemon Red, and then I started running another game that was a big one for my childhood. And this is kind of is a easy segue into what has turned into my focus, which is primarily awful and silly games. Um, it was a game that I played on the Cartoon Network website back when I was a kid. It was called Cartoon Summer Resort. I'm not sure if anybody watch who has played this game before, but maybe if you're roughly my age, which is in low to mid 30s, that might have overtaken you as a child as well. It's just this game where you play as some random characters interacting with these other Cartoon Network characters, and you're like trading items with them to accomplish some kind of end quest goal. There's 4 levels and stuff like that. I found out how to play this game. I was just like experimenting with how I could play this game in the year of whatever 2018 or whatever it was, 2019. And found out how to play it, got hooked on it, started speedrunning it, rerouted it and stuff like that. And yeah, that was not only the resurgence of my speedrunning kind of career, that's what really got me started on like the awful and silly train that I am still very much aboard at the moment. So
Yeah, it's definitely a big staple of the GDQs.
yes, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was a combination of learning that game. You know, we hadn't talked about this so much as well, but like as I got into speedrunning, the natural thing you start to discover is GDQs and speedrunning marathons and things like that. So I started watching a lot of GDQs. I even went back and watched past GDQs, like from before I had entered the hobby at all. Started watching them, started watching runs, saw like how these blocks were composed, and got really hooked into uh not only the schedules. Every time that they would roll around with a new event, I would just like put them on my TV and start basically letting them play 24 hours. I would even sleep on the couch at points, so that way I could like go fall asleep with it in the background. And so I could catch a lot of the later overnight stuff, which also very much intrigued me. And yeah, and then Awful Block was naturally one of those. Awful and Silly blocks were naturally one of those things that I would just try to stay up for, because they had just grabbed my attention with how like ridiculous and fun they are, and showcasing games that people might never even have heard of at many times, or and ones that are so infamously bad you want to see what that's all about. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, that
Yeah.
grabbed my attention really early on when I started watching.
Yeah. And I like that they've been a thing for as long as I can remember, at least. And that, AGDQ has the awful, SGDQ has the silly. It all works out
Hmm.
perfectly. And it's
Yes.
always a treat. Because, you know, obviously awful games are always awful, but awful games can make fascinating speedruns a lot of the time. And then silly is
Oh,
just
so
more out
much.
there and like never heard of this game. This is some wacky stuff,
Mm.
but not necessarily bad. I don't know. They're
Yeah,
just
yeah,
fun times.
yeah. Yeah. I'm sure we're probably going to talk about it at some point, but it seems like
Oh
a
yeah.
natural segue, which is that for about 4 years, I ran my own GDQ hotfix show on the channel called Awfully Silly,
Hmm.
which featured runs from what you would consider awful and or silly blocks, just kind of lumped into one. I ran that show for 4 years, and so like that's roughly, if I had to guess, because we ran every like 2 weeks or so, that's probably like approaching 100 episodes, somewhere between 80 and 100 over the course of the 4 years, 3 hours a piece roughly. I never once repeated a game across the 4 years,
Wow.
so that's like, yeah, so that one just goes to show you how much awful and silly games can permeate the speedrunning community at large, but two, just how many there are, like how much sheer volume there is, and how many dedicated communities and dedicated runners there are to these games. And yeah, I was really proud of that show. We got to feature a lot of like speedrunning communities, or sometimes I say community and it was just like one person, because that's just how it works. Somebody has a
Hmm.
passion project for a game like this, and they kind of just turn it into the main part of their content. And we got to feature these people in prime time hours too, which I always emphasized on the show, because
Yeah.
awful and silly block is my favorite block, but it does go like from midnight to like 8 a.m roughly.
Yes,
So
it
like
does.
whenever we do it in the event. So people still stay and people watch and stuff like that, of course, but like I loved being able to take these and put them at like 7 p.m Eastern time, so that way anybody who was watching rough Twitch at that time, which is a pretty comfortable, after dinner catch up time, um we'll get to see these games and get to kind of see what it is to look at this weird quirky corner of the speedrunning realm. So yeah, I was quite proud of that. I was quite proud of that, and I've made a lot of friends as a result too. Um,
Hmm.
and expanded my own catalog of awful and silly games and that I've learned and picked up over the years. So
Yeah. Um, I was gonna be like, oh yeah, that's crazy that you never repeated a game, whatever. But then I remembered that like 95% of any console library is awful shovelware.
yes,
So
exactly.
there's no
That
shortage.
helps.
There's no shortage of games to choose from, but
Yeah, yeah. Look, go through the Steam library, go through like the Nintendo Switch library, just start scrolling in the store, like recent
oh, the
releases, and
eShop is
95%
beautiful.
of yeah, the 95% of them are games that you'll never play or haven't heard of, and but somebody out there picks them up and they play them and they learn the speed run, and then we get
Hilarity
to
ensues.
put them on the show.
Yeah.
Yes, hilarity ensues is a great way of putting it. But yeah, sometimes you find gems like that. Like one that comes to mind, and this isn't even one that I've speed ran, but like uh a couple of years back we had it on GDQ, and I've definitely had it on my show as well at some point. But there was a run that we were talking about the Switch library and the shovelware that pops up on there. There's a run called Give Me Toilet Paper, which is
Okay.
essentially like a little puzzle game, but the goal of it is to get a toilet paper roll, put your Joy-Con in it, and then roll it around on the ground on the table like this. So that way the Joy-Con is spinning in there, and that's causing the toilet paper to roll, and then you just have to like navigate like mazes and puzzles and stuff like that. A game that I'm sure nobody ever would have found or played or put feature on, but then a couple people pick it up, create this community, and then all of a sudden you get to put it on in front of like 60,000 people. So I mean,
Yeah.
I love finding little gems like that, being able to turn that and put it into, you know, put a lot of notoriety behind it, put a lot of eyes on it that they might not have otherwise had. So,
hmm So, how did that all start for you? You said that Flash
Mhm.
game, but
Yeah, yeah. So
how did it
that
evolve from
started
there?
my For sure, for sure. So that started my general that plus the awful blocks and
hmm
GDQs that I'd watch started my general interest in awful and silly games. At the time, I was still like learning my own. Like I was learning Pokemon more, playing some other games and picking up a couple of things here and there. I had in 2020, one of my favorite games of all time. You can kind of see behind me on the top of the couch. There's a bunch of plushies. One of my favorite games of all time came out, which was a game called Bug Snacks. Now, Bug Snacks is not an awful or a silly game, but actually it's a bit silly. But like, it's a game that like utilizes comedic elements and like really interesting like storytelling and characters with like really fun and interesting gameplay. And it just completely captured me. I started learning to speedrun. It became like the main cornerstone of my content as well. But off on the side, couldn't stop thinking about how I really enjoyed this energy of game and like speedrunning games of this energy as opposed to really diving into like something really serious, like really putting my head down about Pokemon and try to grind through all that RNG into a franchise and a leaderboard that is like full of people who have done exactly the same thing and have poured a lot more time and dedication into it than I had the time for. Plus, like I just liked the air of comedy, being able to like laugh at things and being able to uh, kind of have a lot more like levity when it comes to the runs that I was picking up. So around that time, I was speedrunning Bug Snacks. I really started watching even more marathons aside from GDQ that had either awful and silly blocks or were full marathons dedicated to runs that would fit into this block. For example, Big Bag Gameathon, which is a marathon that runs once a year, is a marathon full of games that are awful and silly, and getting to learn about those games I had never would have seen before, learn about those communities, get involved, like allowed me to meet a lot of people who are in this space and become friends with them, and also just pique my interest about these games. And around that same time as well, the pandemic hit. So, we were all kind of locked inside. I, had not doing too much on the outside. Um, and they had started to kind of ramp up the development program for hotfix. So around summertime 2020, I submitted a couple of show ideas actually, one of which was Awfully Silly, and Awfully Silly got accepted. And the idea just popped into my head. First of all, couldn't believe nobody had done it.
Yeah.
Hotfix had been around for a little bit, and I was like, wow, this is weirdly untapped market in the hotfix content. So I really wanted to find and fill that niche. And two, yeah, my interest was just at an all-time high. I just wanted to I was running through all of the content mines that I could find aside from just like watching my friends' channels who speedrun games like this. And I wanted more. I wanted to see more. I wanted to be a part of it more. And yeah, so pitched this show, it got accepted, and yeah, I started running it in October 2020, and just finished back in August. October 2021, I should say, and just finished back in August. So
Yeah, good long
yeah,
while.
we had a historic run. We had a historic run. I missed that show a lot. That was a hard thing for me to kind of give up. I got to walk away from it on my own terms as well. It was
Okay.
just a situation of I have a lot on my plate. You know, I had picked up
Hmm.
more roles at GDQ. Work was really ramping up for me. A part of my full time life. I got married. I have things to worry about at home as well, aside from all of this, video game stuff. And yeah, something had to give. Burning the candle at both ends is the euphemism I was going for there. And something needed to give, and that just seemed like the right time. So got to kind of walk away from it on my own. Even got to do I said we never repeated a game, which is technically untrue
Mm.
because the finale we did a best of across the entire 4 year span. Had people vote in. And kind of revisit some of their favorite runs from the course of the show. And we had a nice pleasant spread of like recent versus things that we had put on the show like 2+ years ago, versus like all-time classics. So the finale show ended up being Golf with Your Grandmother, which was
Of
a
course.
GDQ at a GDQ like a year ago, roughly, which overtook the block. And King J really hammed it up with the presentation and really leaned into the silly part of it, and it was great, and it was an all-timer.
I
Then we
was
also
like in the
had
front row almost for the original run, so trust me, I am
yes,
very much aware of the energy that thing
yeah,
brings.
yeah. Who could have expected a game like that could bring the room to its knees? Essentially, it was such an electric place to be in that room. And yeah, we got to put that back on the show. We got to do a really fun game that we had run like a couple years prior to that called Battle Construction Vehicles, which is a fighting game where you play as like it's like forklift versus, I can't think of another construction vehicle at the time, but like they just fight each other
Bulldozer.
like a fighting game. Yeah, bulldozer. Thank you. I couldn't think
Sure.
of another one, but yeah, they fight each other, and they have these like ridiculous cutscenes. It was a PAL exclusive PS2 game. Had these like ridiculous cutscenes and stuff in there that we got to feature, and then naturally we also got to put on Superman 64, maybe the most famous awful game of all time. So
20% screen
just a
size
nice.
or
Let's see. What did we didn't do 20% for this one, I think.
I
I
remember
know
the
we ended up doing
GDQ
that.
one, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that was such
The
a
bid
fun
war,
extension
even though you
because
know exactly what's going to win.
yeah, because no matter what wins in that bid war, Brad Harmar, who's the runner of it, loses because either Brad has to run it at 100% because people are going to go extremes. They're either going to go the smallest or the
Yeah, yeah,
biggest,
yeah.
right? So they're going to go at 100%, which is just a laggy mess for Brad, absolutely awful, or 20% where you have to squint and like barely be able to decipher what it is that you're looking at. So Brad loses every time, but he tends to enjoy it. So
But we
yeah,
all
so
win
we
as a
got to
result.
yeah, we win, and Brad takes the bullet for us. So we appreciate that. But yeah, yeah, it's just become a big part of my life. The awful silliness of it all, and um, we talked about, well, I guess as this releases on YouTube, AGDQ just ended, but
Mhm.
as the time of recording, we're ramping up right into AGDQ, and I have a run in. This will be my sixth run in for a GDQ event. Five of which have been in the awful block, and this one is no exception. This one's also in the awful or in silly block. So, um, yeah, I'm just not. It's overtaken like most parts of my life. It's just it's a part of the quote unquote Konception brand. So,
Mhm.
I love it. I love being one of the people known for this and like helping to spread a little joy and little comedy into this niche segment of streaming and content that I feel like sometimes gets really competitive, it gets really serious and stuff like that, which is really cool, compelling content. But sometimes it's fun to just take a step back and just have a laugh, and I like being able to do that. So
Well, I'll segue that into like kind of your history with
sure.
silly games. So I know we
Oh yeah,
started, but you've clearly done quite a few, so could
yeah.
knock them off here.
Um, Yeah, let's run through the chat. So I talked about Awfully Silly, and that, kind of
Mhm.
my second episode of Awfully Silly was snack themed. So it was all video games revolving around food and snacks. One game of which that I had on that show was Sneak King,
Ah, of
which if
course.
you're unfamiliar, is one of three Burger King video games that was released in 2006 as like a promo where you could go in to a Burger King, buy a value meal, and once you buy a meal, you pay an extra $4, and you would get a video game. So these video games are $4 a piece. By the way, if you walk into a retro game store, they're still $4. So I always like to make
Yeah.
the joke that they're recession proof. They're inflation proof. They are the true currency.
I see.
But yeah, so we had Sneak King on there, and gosh, like I was just enamored with it, loved it, I was obsessed with it. So I ended up I bought the games myself in retro stores in my area. All not even just Sneak King, I bought the other two, which are Pocket Bike Racer and Big Bumpin'. Bought all three, learned speed runs of all three. So I've know how to run all those individually. Two of which I've done in GDQs so far. I've done Sneak King myself, and then I also did Pocket Bike Racer last event. And so I'm just trying to get the third one in there, big bumping someday maybe. But I've also run them as what I call the Have It Your Way showcase, which is a category I invented. Which is you're very familiar, obviously. You think about the Mario Power Hour, right? Trying to accomplish all of those speed runs of Mario games within the
Yep.
hour, right?
Mario Hour, yeah.
A sim
Right.
Yeah, Mario Hour, exactly, right. Same vibe. It was I have three games here. In 1 hour, I'm going to beat all of these Burger King games. And most of the time I was able to do it. So sometimes Big Bumpin' is the worst, I'll just say. It's got a lot of ridiculous RNG to it. But the other two are pretty consistent. So that one's a lot of fun. So I run all of those. The game I'm about to run in AGDQ, or again, if you're watching on YouTube, I have just ran at AGDQ,
Mhm.
is a game called Garbage Pail Kids, Mad Mike, and the Quest for Stale Gum.
That's a lot of
Um,
words.
yeah, it's a big title. I can't wait to see what they do with the layout.
Mm.
See if they can fit
Oh,
it all
yeah.
on there.
Didn't think about that.
It's a lot of words. It's a lot of words. But so I'm running it on it's an NES game, but it's an NES game that came out in 2022. So it was released a
Oh.
few years back. It's also on modern consoles. It's on like all the consoles. It's on Steam and stuff like that, so you can play it. But it's basically a 2D platformer, similar to Mario 2, where you have four characters that you can kind of swap between. And yeah, it's if you're familiar with Garbage Pail Kids as like a franchise, it's gross out humor. It's like these kids you play as kids who like shoot snot rockets and like vomit projectiles, and you fight little toilets and these ridiculous creatures and stuff like that. So it's gross out humor, farts and snot rockets and vomiting and stuff like that. So luckily it's all in 8-bit, so it's not very
Graphic.
visually,
Yeah.
yeah, painful to watch. You're not seeing somebody lean over and hurl. It's more for comedic effect than anything. But there's that one. Geez, I've run a whole bunch. I got into this knack of I found like these awful DS games that were based off of holiday movies. So like I've run Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Santa Claus is Coming to Town for the DS, which are all like they're like mini game collections. Like think of WarioWare, but if it were made for babies, essentially,
Oh
like
my
even
god.
easier than WarioWare. Like here, like color this thing red, and then you just kind of like scribble it in with your stylus or whatever, or ridiculously easy little games, but they're fun. Bug Snacks, which again I've admitted is silly, but that's a game that captured me in speedrunning for quite a long time. Um, and yeah, I'm trying to think if there's any. I one point I ran the Grinch for Game Boy Color, but that game is it's brutally it's bad and not the right ways. You know what I mean?
Mm.
It's
Yeah.
it's just like it's a slog to get through. It's like Pac-Man kind of. If you played Pac-Man for 3 straight hours, and the Grinch was the main character, I guess, and he's collecting presents and chomping them up. So not a particularly good one. The PlayStation one, the console version, excellent. I think everyone should play that one. It's a great one. But I don't recommend the Game Boy Color one. Cartoon. I've played a whole bunch. Trying to think. Yeah, I think that's the awful catalog. But I have like a whole shelf of things behind me that I want to start learning and tackling someday, and hopefully can get those on a in a marathon at some point too.
Hmm. Yeah, I'll definitely touch on that later. But
For
so
sure.
so you've really just ran awful game, well, and or silly as of late, because I know obviously Pokemon and Bug Snacks were a little while ago now.
Yeah, yeah, very true. Yeah, it's mainly primarily been awful and silly games. Oh yeah, actually I remembered another one which was Bite Night, which was me and my friend Swoos got to run together at an AGDQ in a race, which was just this awful game where you play as a gas station attendant, but then it gets invaded by a vampire, and then there's just hilarious antics and stuff that go around. So we got to erase that one. That was another one that was
Mm.
that came across the desk of Conception. So
So do these games have speedrun tech, or are they just for shits
yeah,
and giggles?
yeah, a lot of them do. A lot of them do. Now there are some that have way less tech than others. Let's be honest. But like
Yeah.
the one I just brought up, for example, Bite Night, um, we had discovered. Uh, quite a few bits of tech. One, which were mainly attributed just to what I would imagine to be like coding errors in the game, but like has made the game infinitely more enjoyable. So please never take them out. But for one, like you can just like you hold shift, like if you're playing on PC, you hold shift to run. If you like crouch and hold shift and press it a couple times, it just continuously builds your speed. So that way, instead of like holding down shift to run the whole time, you don't have to hold it down anymore for one, but two, you run at like 800x speed just around. Like it becomes like you can stack it as high as you want to the point that it becomes unmanageable to move, and then you just start going through barriers, and then you just get locked. You know, you soft lock yourself or something like that. So that was a fun one. And in that same game that we also discovered something called progress bar storage, which was a lot of the game revolves around like you have to pick up this item and put this item here, for example. And when you pick up an item, there's a bar that goes across the screen that's like complete. You pick it up and then you can go do something else with it. We found out that a lot of those progress bars have differing speeds. You know, if it's something like, oh, you very quickly want to pick something up, the progress bar will go like, whoop, and it'll just be really fast. But some of them, it'll be like, oh, you have to do this really slow, monotonous thing, and the bar will be like really slow as it progresses. But you can find a bar that of something that moves really fast, start it and then pause it. Like you just like hold on to the button and turn away, and then go utilize that on the thing that has a slower progress bar, and it maintains that fast progress bar for your slow action. So that saves a lot of time across the run because there's a lot of like slow opening of doors or slow mopping up these puddles or things like that that you have to do. So that one has a lot of tech. Um, Pocket Bike Racer is another one I've ran recently. That so it's a game that has 5 tracks. If you're unfamiliar with Pocket Bike Racer, it's a racing game. It's a Mario Kart clone essentially, where you race on little motorcycles essentially. Like you're a full size person, but the motorcycle is really small. So you sit on it and you race around these 5 tracks. The first track is just completely broken for some reason. Whereas you can go about roughly to like the 1/3 point through the track and then just turn around and go back towards the starting line, hit like a specific point, and then turn back around, and you will trigger the lap sequence. So like you're doing 1/3 of the lap each time, which really speeds up that first track.
Man, ultra
And then
shortcuts go
same thing.
crazy.
Yeah, that would be an example of a quote unquote ultra shortcut. It's so incredibly way less visually impressive than like the Mario Kart Wii ones, for example, which are just like ridiculous tricks and hops. It's just as simple as like, oh, I go here and then I turn around and I run into a tire and then I turn back around and then all of a sudden the lap triggers. But that game also is full of like regular, more dev intended shortcuts as well. So learning about those and stuff like that is the tech. Some other ones that I run. Bugsnax, well, like I said, Bugsnax is like on the
Yeah.
verge, has all kinds of uh out of bounds and like parkouring on like the environment around you to skip loading triggers and stuff like that. Like that game's any percent is like 18 minutes because you can skip essentially to the end by just circumventing a lot of the loading zones that are supposed to be locked to you until you progress the story to a certain degree. Um, Another game I run, which I hadn't mentioned before, is I run Barbie for the NES.
That's a classic,
That
I've
was
heard.
another. Yeah, yeah, which was a direct inspiration. So I saw that that was raced at AGDQ 20, I believe,
Mm.
by Sharif and Kajink or Kajink. I loved that race. Like I was obsessed with that race. And then I picked up the game while we were in Pittsburgh for AGDQ like 2 years ago. The first time we were ever in Pittsburgh, I went to a game store, found it, picked it up, learned it in the interim between, and then got it into SGDQ right after. And then I got to run that one too. And uh, that one has some tech to it. There is like, for example, in one of the later levels in the Atlantis level, there is a part where you're supposed to use a dolphin to get across a barrier. And unfortunately, you when you play it like just normally, it's really slow. You're supposed to like throw him. I don't know what it is, like some kind of treat. It looks like a diamond. It looks like you're feeding a dolphin a diamond, but like you throw him a diamond and then he kind of like swims aimlessly around until he picks you up. But like if you come in at the right angle, throw it like just off screen, and then come in, the dolphin will take the diamond and then turn around immediately and just latch onto you and then pull you. So that saves like many seconds as long as you can get it first try. And like there's all kinds of like little tricks and optimizations. For example, in that one, the last level, the final boss is a jukebox. Weird, it's a weird game. But there's a lot of like if the level starts with Barbie falling from the sky. So you fall from the sky and you land. And it's a weird boss mechanic where there's like tokens or coins for the jukebox that are like kind of low key spinning around the map. You have to land on them and like make them spin to their highest degree all at the same time, and that's how you defeat the boss. So it's less about like damaging and more about like weird platforming slash puzzle. But if you come in, use the motivation from Barbie falling, land on the first coin, and then just do like a series of like very particular jumps while taking damage very specifically, you can knock that boss out in like 15 seconds. But it's very difficult to do. You might miss out. If you miss the cycle like really right away, you'll probably just die. So yeah, weird little tech. Yeah, so a lot of times people think awful and silly games are just as simple as playing them through, and sometimes that is the case, but there are a lot of them that have tech to them. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I mean, I assume at least with awful games that sometimes they're not programmed very well. So surely there's
Mhm.
something you can abuse in that regard.
Oh,
But
for sure. Yeah. Some of the most famous awful and silly runs are games that you can just break wide open because of some kind of weird programming thing. I mean, like the Superman we talked about is a great example.
mm,
Like the game is faster if your screen size is small. Like that's
mm,
just because of how assets load. Or for example, the Burger King games I had mentioned before, weird optimization. So like there are some of the only games in the history of video games that are what we call dual format. And what that means is that you get one disc, but that disc runs on Xbox, original Xbox, as well as Xbox 360, which had different disk drives that read different styles of discs.
mm.
So that might not seem like a huge deal nowadays because you could pop in like a 360 game into an Xbox One, for example, or something like that. But back then, it was like essentially having something that read CDs versus DVDs, and having a disc that somehow works on both machines and does different things. All that to say, because it was a dual format game, and from what I understand or what I'm hypothesizing is because the 360 versions are higher quality, higher resolution, more assets. Those games are faster to run on the older system because they load less. They have
Mm.
way less to worry about in terms of like asset load and stuff like that. And I'm guessing the file size is just significantly smaller too on those discs because it needed more room for the 360 version. It's probably like 25% original Xbox and 75% like the 360 version. So like weird little optimizations like that too. Always pop up. You never know with awful and silly games just how they're programmed and what that leads to in terms of the hilarity.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So I'll ask more detail about how GDQ happened. Did it start with
Yeah.
the show?
Yeah, so my GDQ, yeah, kind of career, for lack of a better term, started with Awfully Silly. Even at that time that I started running Awfully Silly, I'd never gotten a run into GDQ. I'd submitted every
Mhm.
event and I had never gotten in anything. I think I went something like, I think it was 12 or 13 events in a row,
Wow.
submitting and getting nothing in, which I know is a common refrain that people deal with a lot of times when submitting for GDQs. So I got in the show Awfully Silly, started running that, and then a little time after that, maybe like an event or two later, I had gotten my first run in, and then which was Bug Snacks, as it turns out. So I got to run Bug Snacks. I got to run a co-op with my good friend Limey as well. So that was a wonderful time. Um, and yeah, that kind of just opened the floodgates. And I wanted to get more and more involved with GDQ as I got to know more and more people. So I got to do a few more runs as I've submitted and gotten into awful blocks and silly blocks. And I also just got to know more people and I got more involved with the organization as a whole. Um, my day-to-day work, I kind of alluded to it when we were talking about the walkabout stuff, is I work in communications, I work in social media, I work in things like that. So they had a social media assistant position open up uh, like a couple years back at this point. I don't exactly remember. And I opened up and I applied and I had direct experience to that. So now I get to help out with the social media volunteers that come. Some of them come to the event, some of them we get to work with like internationally, which is why it's one of my favorite departments, because it's one of the only departments that has international volunteers often, which is really really cool. And then I also just get to like help make video and still image based content at the events, which is just really really fun. Getting to shoot goofy stuff with the speedrunners, or just get to watch the runs and grab clips and work. We have sponsors for those events as well, and getting to work with them and get their social media posts planned is really fun. So I enjoyed that. And then yeah, like a year and change at this point, or maybe we're approaching 2 years at this point. They had a games committee position open up where they were going to take a few games committee people on. I applied for that, and my history with the company combined with the fact that I had run my show for a few years at that point, so I already knew about like the selection process and the vetting process and how to make sure games and stuff got onto the schedule for hotfix. Leaned nicely into what we do for mainlines as well. So I was able to grab that games committee position, and yeah, now I think this is my third event that I've worked on the games committee now. So that coming up, this AGDQ, I should say. So yeah,
Mhm.
it kind of just once I got my foot in there and just kind of got to meet people and make myself known, put myself out there a little bit more, then yeah, these opportunities just it was just about waiting for the right time or the right opportunity, and it worked out for me.
Yeah, sounds like it. So
Yeah.
we have you to thank for the awful and silly blocks.
I do. So I do tend to not only is that one of the like subcommittees that I work in. That's obviously my pride and joy.
Mhm.
But whenever we get to the on-site, I end up usually often I'll have a run in there, and then also I will work that as social media as well. So like I'll like every part of that I can get my hands on for the awful and silly block. I try to like from crafting it on the schedule to like doing helping the volunteers and getting the memes out there and goofing around with the social media copy, and then preparing my run. I just try to get involved as much as I can. So yeah,
It's all you. That's your piece of the
I can't.
No, I
I,
know.
I have a heavy hand in it. There's a lot of people involved. Okay, but I
I
do
know.
I have a heavy hand? Sure, yes I do. Yes I do.
There's some of your influence can be seen, I'm sure.
Yes, yes, for sure, for sure, and I'm proud of that too. So
Well, given all your work with the awful and silly games, I want to ask
Mhm.
about some highlights from what you've seen from these uh I don't know what to call them that wouldn't sound rude, but you know.
Yeah, these absolute gems.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, diamonds in the rough, I like to call them sometimes
Okay.
too. Because yeah, sometimes you dig through the dirt and sometimes it's dirt, but sometimes it's a diamond. So yeah, some of my favorite runs. I'll tap into both. Awfully Silly because I have a lot of intimate experience with that, obviously, as well as
Mhm.
just awful blocks and stuff of the past. So some of my favorite runs. One that sticks out. So, it was probably like a year or two into me running the show, and we featured this. My parents happened to be visiting. Maybe it was around the holidays or it was the summer or something. I can't remember exactly. But we happened to feature the show on Awfully Silly. This run rather on Awfully Silly, that was called The Quiet Man. Which is, if you're unfamiliar, it's a Square Enix game actually.
Oh.
Um, but you play as a protagonist or an anti-hero. I can't remember the exact details. Who happens to be deaf. Um, the issue from a gameplay perspective is that they wanted it to be really immersive. They wanted you to really feel like you're deaf. So if you're playing that game for the first time, it has zero sound. Zero, none at all. So which means that there's dialogue happening that you don't know what they're saying. There's all the sound effects and music and stuff. You won't hear it. And that was so reviled by the general community that they had to patch in an ability for you to like either like play through the game one time, and then you unlocked like sound mode essentially.
Okay.
So you could play through it. But like even with the sound, you're like, oh, maybe this was a decent game when you have the sound on it. No, it's a pretty terrible game even when you can hear it. To the point where, and maybe you can relate to this, GT, a little bit, but like when you try to explain to your parents who are not very technologically sound what it is that you do when you're like go live on Twitch or like what you do to make money, they have no idea. Like they don't understand what this means. They don't understand this realm. But my mom watched that show because she was downstairs visiting, and she watched that, and she was like, "Oh, I get it. That was like the worst thing I've ever seen, but it was funny." And I was like, "Yeah, you get it. You understand what it is that we were doing." So that one sticks out because it's the one that like permeated my technologically challenged parents' brains into what it is that we do. So that one sticks out a lot. Another I want to shout out. I mentioned that I run Barbie for the NES. One of my favorite episodes of the show was that we did a whole Barbie themed episode, like right around when the movie came out too. So it was like really perfect timing synergistically. We had like 4 or 5 different Barbie games across multiple gaming generations. We had the NES version, we had more modern versions. But also that's just like one of my favorite communities that I've gotten to interact with as a whole. Like they're just some of the nicest people. They really embrace like the silliness of it, but they have such a genuine appreciation for these games at the same time. Um, and they even like run their own like marathon called Barbiethon, where they just have Barbie games and like they reuse that and raise money too. So one of my favorite communities I've ever interacted with, and the putting together that episode was a real pleasure, and getting to interact and meet new people as a result of it was really fun. Yeah, and then just to shout out some of my other favorite, like, all-time awfully silly runs as well, Arabian Nights is just hilarious. Every time I see Arabian Nights, it cracks me up. Just how goofy and generic a game can be like that is just it's so funny to me. I really also like, uh is it Incredible Crisis, I believe is the name of it? It's uh a Japanese PS1 game. It's again essentially like a mini game collection, but like mini games are ridiculous and absurd, and that just cracks me up so much with cutscenes in between about essentially like this guy's worst day, essentially that you could ever imagine. I believe it's called Incredible Crisis. Hopefully, I got the name right. There's another game in a similar vein, which I believe is called Suzuki Bakuhara or something like that. Similar, like PS1 Japanese only title. Ridiculous things like you have a kaiju fight, but the fight ends up being like rock paper scissors and things like that. Like just goofy little moments that you could just sit there and laugh at. And then yeah, I also got a big kick out of we near the end of the run of Awfully Silly, we did something a little different, which was instead of having the games themselves that were ridiculous or awful in nature, I pulled like really famous or popular games that have silly categories to them, and that
Ah,
was really,
okay.
really fun. So like for example, some people might have heard about in Pokemon Sword and Shield, there's a category that's called Flex on Mom, which is you start the game, you get your Pokemon, and you like go and you buy this like ridiculously ostentatious Arcanine T-shirt. It kind of looks like Ed Hardy shirt back in the day. And then you come back home to mom and you do this like little spin dance, and then you like point up in the air, and that's the end of the category. Like you do that. So we did that, except that we wanted to I worked with the runner Greta Ice Vixen to like kind of like craft a new category, which was like 120 flexes based off 120 stars
Okay.
from Mario. And so like we had to count 100, we flexed on 120 different people throughout so that same dance 119 more times at different people, and they went a step further beyond and started making up fake tricks that they were doing and naming them after Super Mario 64 tricks, and it was just
Okay.
cracking me up. Yeah, like it would just be like, oh yeah, I can't remember an exact example, but it'd be like we throw that ball and it lands in jam or something like that, and we're gonna call that a BLJ or something like that. You know,
Okay.
ball land jam. Theirs were infinitely funnier than what I just said, but like it would be stuff like that. It would just make me laugh. And then we also had like Hollow Knight Ghostbusters percent, and we had Celeste on there where it was all visible red berries, so you get all the red berries, but only the ones that you can see. Um, Things like that that I really enjoyed as well, because I got to I had appreciation for those games as just a fan of video games, but you know they didn't naturally fit within the theme of my show, but I found a way, so that was really fun too.
Mhm. And so, I guess all of these VODs are saved on the GDQ channel, so
Yeah, yeah. If you go to the Games Done Quick YouTube channel, there should still be a playlist called Awfully Silly. Like I said, there's probably like, if I had to guess, somewhere between like 80 and 90 episodes across the 4 years, 3+ hours a piece. So, and like I said, aside from the last episode, which was a best of, we didn't repeat a single game the entire run. So you will have and no matter what episode you pick, you will have something new to watch as a result. So couldn't suggest that enough.
plenty of content for sure.
Plenty, plenty.
Right. We're kind of speedrunning this episode.
Hey, look at us. We've both been speedrunning a while. It's natural to us.
I suppose, but
Yeah.
man, what have I not asked? I feel like this has gone so fast.
Yeah. We sure did. Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah. Um, gosh. Well, you did bring up you had things you want to do that haven't
Yes.
exactly touched on yet. Going into those.
Yeah, there's a few. So I'll go into one that's always been like a long-term one that I planned, but I've never gotten into, and one that would just like capture me recently. So the long-term one, so a while back, this is probably like going back like 3-ish years now or so, I stumbled upon a Genesis game that was called The Haunting, starring Poltergeist. Um, and the premise of this game is that you play as a poltergeist, but you're like a skate punk kid from like the 90s. And what had happened was he died in a skateboard accident because his skateboard was built faultily by the skateboard company. So what he does is he comes back and he haunts the CEO of Big Skateboard essentially, and the whole game is about scaring him and his family out of the various houses he keeps moving into.
Okay.
And you do you invade, like you'll go into a picture frame and then like pop out like as a spirit, or you'll like dive into a furniture and turn into a monster or something like that, and like you just try to make everybody run out. And it's such a ridiculously silly game, and it just makes me laugh. The concept of it cracks me up. That's been on my like, and I've played through it, I've beaten it start to finish, so I know how the game plays. But that's always been in the back of my mind, is like I really got to get some runs out of that because I think people would enjoy that one, for sure. And then one of a game that I played recently, very recently, in fact, I just beaten it like 2 days ago or yesterday, was this really goofy game called Thank Goodness You're Here. which is I don't exactly know when it came out, but it's a modern game. It probably came out within the last couple of years if I had to guess. But it's this game similar in energy to like Untitled Goose Game, kind of, where it's
Mm,
just about like the chaos and stuff that's around you and the comedy that's around you. Where you play as like a little guy going through this like really British town
mm,
and like helping people, and like it's like really like exaggerated and ridiculous British humor. Like you go to like a fish and chip shop, but like they sell fish and chips. They sell fish that also smoke cigarettes because they're also big into smoking cigarettes. So like you'll go and then like try to help out like this fishmonger sell fish that have cigarettes poking out of their mouth, goofy stuff like that, or like just like this absurdist, ridiculous humor to it. I've just played through it and made me laugh a whole bunch. So I'm thinking about learning a speed run of that to try and see if we can get that into an awful or silly block at some point in the future, because I think it has ridiculous cutscenes too. I think it would just make people laugh a lot. So those are the ones that are on the brain currently.
I see. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, obviously been doing this a while, but are there
Mhm.
any, maybe more traditional games you've thought of doing?
Yes, for sure, for sure. So like we talked about Pokemon. I have extensive
Mm,
history of Pokemon, and so I'm a big fan. And a run that I've learned a little bit, and have even done like a couple like example runs for, but I never like latched on long term, is Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver any percent Manipulus, which is a really fun run with a lot of like the DS games for Pokemon, if you're unfamiliar, have this interesting trick that they call tweaking, which is essentially like going over load zones really quickly to like break the environment so that you can circumvent load zones, go out of bounds, like get to areas a lot sooner than you'd be able to. That game has a lot of that trick in it, as combined with like the fun parts of Pokemon speedrunning for me, which is like utilizing kind of lower level Pokemon to and like items with them to like get through these like really complicated fights. So like for example, if you've played the game, you'll know that like it ends with a fight with Red from the first game, where he has like all these like level 80 Pokemon. He's got like a Pikachu and a Snorlax and a Charizard and a Blastoise and a Venusaur. All these like level 80 Pokemon that you defeat with like a level like 56 Gyarados or something like that.
okay.
So like you're way under leveled. So like learning about like the strategy and how the mechanics of the game work and like the items and stuff that you're supposed to use to like survive fights like that has always been really interesting to me. So that one's always in the back of my head. Paper Mario is one of my favorite games of all
Mm,
time. I want to learn a category of that game. I also really want to get more involved in like the randomizer of that game because it seems really, really fun. So something along those lines as well would be really, really cool. And I've never learned a speed run of it, but my wife is a huge Spyro fan, so we've been playing Spyro like for a long time. Me and her have been together for like 16 years,
wow.
and so like she got me to fall in love with Spyro a lot, and like I have played a bunch of Spyro, and I would really love to learn a Spyro speedrun at some point, regardless if it's a retro one or like the reignited trilogy ones or something like that. They seem really, really fun, and I love that like 3D platformer action collectathon kind of vibe. So someday I would really like to learn a Spyro speedrun. I don't know when though.
Got too much silliness on the mind, as it
Yeah,
seems.
yeah, it's too much silliness on the mind. Yeah, I get too and like I say this actually. I streamed twice in this past week, but like also I haven't streamed before that. I hadn't streamed in like 2 years. So like I just got too bogged down with time. Like I got too busy to focus on things as well. One last thing actually that just came to mind as something that I want to work on is if you watched EDQs in the past, like 5 or so years roughly, you'll notice that there has been a resurgence, not a resurgence, a surgence, because they hadn't really done them before, of rhythm games. There'll be like some kind of cool rhythm
Oh yeah.
game that will be featured, once, twice an event or something like that. And I'm a big rock band person. I've played a ton of
Ooh.
rock band in my life, and I play the drums. Like my degree is in music. I've been playing the drums for like 20 plus years, so like I'm decently good at the drum part. So I want to form some kind of rock band, or like the open source version, which is called Yarg,
Mm.
submission, to try to get that there, and I'll play it on like a real electronic drum set and stuff like that too. Um, that's also in the back of my mind as like a presentation piece. showcase that
Yeah.
I'd like to get out there at some point.
Yeah, they've had a lot of the clone hero I've seen. So it
Yeah.
would fit
Yeah, they've
pretty
had a lot
well.
of clone here. Yeah, they've had that, so they've got the guitar representation, and they also had, like, the drum percent Super Mario 64 run, so there's a
Yeah.
people like the drum part of it, they love the Clone Hero stuff, I wanna blend those 2 and have some cool drum gameplay, so I think that could be really fun if I could figure that out.
Honestly, all around they've been a lot more musically inclined, I've noticed. Like the live
Yeah.
bands and the rhythm games and yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Or even just walking around the venue, like, if you go to 'em in person, you'll see people like, we'll have a section for that has instruments that people can just
yeah,
jam
there's a
out on,
music room
or,
now.
like
Yeah.
yeah, there's a music room. Or the last event, we had a whole concert. We had that whole
Mhm.
concert with the Megas. So, like, yeah,
Yep.
they're definitely embracing the music side, as well. The Crazy Taxi run from a couple events back was
Mhm.
which was wild. That was a great time too, so
Yeah, no. Just something I've noticed and is
mhm.
fun because
Yes.
I'm a little musically inclined too, I guess. I
Oh, neat. What do you
um
play?
well, nothing anymore.
Okay. Okay, fair enough, fair
I
enough.
played
Yeah.
trumpet for like 8 years in school,
Neat.
and
Really cool.
I tried to do piano, but it didn't go anywhere. But
Yeah.
yeah, I still just like the music aspect of things. Like I remember back at pre-COVID GDQs, like Bismuth especially would bring his piano, and I'd just sit there
Mhm.
and people would come up and play, and I'd sit there and listen for a while. And now with like the band room and everything, I was in there a lot last event just because it's a vibe that I very much like. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, same deal, same deal. I really enjoy it too. Yeah, so I'm kind of glad they're embracing the music and rhythm part of it too. It's really really fun. So
yeah, and it's just first of all, it's impressive,
hmm
so that
yeah,
helps. And then it's like a unique thing that they can showcase because yeah, they've been doing a lot more like not just your traditional speed run. There's still plenty of that, but there's a mix of just this wacky fun stuff too, or unique
yeah,
showcases and whatnot.
yeah.
I
Which,
like it.
by the way, if you're watching this incredible podcast, or you're subscribed to it, and you that stuff interests you, so like the rhythm game showcase stuff, or like things we've done, like where we did the community clash, a family feud like event, or like
Mhm.
where we've had the tournament finals for like Evil Zone and the mystery
PS1,
tournament on
yeah.
stage and stuff. Yeah, yeah, like all of that stuff. If that stuff you like that stuff and you have a cool idea, submit it, because we love that stuff too. We want to see it. We want really really cool ideas for unique demonstrations of things like that. We're really trying to embrace that kind of thing on the committee. So do it because it's awesome and we love it. So yeah.
I'm happy to hear because that is the stuff I've been something unique is always just fun. Like there's a nice healthy balance of like this unique thing every now and again with the traditional format that people are used
Mhm.
to. So I don't know. I like the
Yes.
direction it's going. So
Yeah, yeah. I think it's fun, interesting, and fresh. Yeah. So
yep,
we want to keep that going for sure.
yep. Because I mean, if you like the old GDQ or whatever, I mean, the VODs are always there. But I don't know. I
Mhm.
like the way it's evolving, keeping it. Keep, there's a reason to always come back because there will be something different nowadays,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
I think that's cool. So
Yep, for
hopefully
sure.
GDQ
Yeah,
was
you'll see.
fun if you're watching when this is uploaded.
Yeah, hope you liked it. Hopefully, we raised millions of dollars for charity. And yeah, I'm excited. There's always some little fun surprises in store that we have for the event. I hope people are excited to see those too.
Mhm. So with GDQ, are you just planning on doing what you're doing right now for a while?
Yeah, yeah, I'm in a comfortable spot. I'm gonna keep doing the work that it is that I'm doing. I really enjoy the games committee stuff. I really enjoy the social media stuff as well. So I'm gonna keep doing those. I'll keep probably trying to learn ridiculous games and continue to try to get into the awful block.
Mhm.
And then hey, yeah, who knows what else might pop up in terms of either games to run or whatever else. I'll say as well, like for example, again, this will already pass when we're on YouTube, but like I'm
Mhm.
going to be involved with a panel on the event talking about
Oh.
awful and silly games. That'll be fun. I'm looking forward to that. So yeah, there's a lot to look forward to at the event, even just outside of what happens on the main stage. So yeah,
Yeah.
very exciting stuff.
Is this your first panel kind of thing?
No.
Okay.
I did a panel a little bit ago, actually, before I got into games committee, even about how to get your games into marathons, because another
Oh.
part of me, uh, I've actually been involved in, like, before I like kind of had to take a step back and slow things down. I was doing marathon runs left and right. Like I would have one like every weekend for like a year, basically. So I've probably done like 130-ish runs for marathons.
Jesus.
Um, and I wanted to be able to, along with the other people that we were involved with, which was Corby May, Mr. Shasta, as well, that we wanted to like showcase what it's like, you know, tips and tricks that we had learned over the years about how to get your runs into marathons, GDQ or outside of GDQ, just things like look for, how to increase like your, what your presentation looks like and make that appealing to the people who are evaluating their runs and stuff like that, etc. So quite passionate about stuff like that too.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So, what event was that panel at? Do you remember?
Ooh, that was an AGDQ. It was in Pittsburgh. It might have been 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it was in Pittsburgh, at least. Pretty sure it was. I think it was 2 years ago.
Because
I'll
they
have to find
save
that out.
those on YouTube as well, don't they?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
I believe it should be on the Games Done Quick YouTube as well, if memory serves. So.
Okay. And then
Mm.
the one in a week for us live is all about the
Yes.
silliness. So,
Yeah. It's about awful and silly games. It's put on by people. I think. Actually, okay, so 3 of the 4 people involved with the panel have an awful or silly run in that events block,
mm.
and the other one is King J, who has also has also
Yeah.
been in awful and silly blocks before, as we know with Golf with Your Grandmother. So, so yeah, there will be people who have been perennial parts of it or are active parts of it. We'll talk about like what makes an awful and silly game submission unique, different. It's because it's a different realm than submitting any other non-awful or silly
Mhm.
game for consideration. We talk about a lot about like length and comfortability and stuff like that. And then just like what kind of games and communities and stuff that you can look for resources and other like-minded folks and things like that too. So
Mhm. Well,
yeah.
keep that in mind, I guess.
Hmm. Yeah. Check it out. Since it's already happened live, one, if you're going live, certainly come check
Mm.
it out. I believe it's on Tuesday, so it'd be the 6th. Um, and yeah, certainly check it out. And if not, check it out on YouTube because I'm sure it'll be published. So.
Yeah, they're good about uploading everything that
Mhm.
goes on, I've noticed.
Yes. Yeah.
Not to mention
Absolutely.
like immediately after it happened live, it's always just out.
Yeah, the runs are really on the ball. Like
Yeah.
you'll have a run and then like it'll be on YouTube within a few hours. The team's really good about that. With panels and stuff, sometimes that tends to come after
Yeah.
event. They'll just kind of upload them all in a bulk. But like even so, it's just after. So they're really really good with the YouTube uploads for
Yeah,
sure.
it's crazy. What
Mhm.
the efficiency. I mean, I guess you have to be being a speedrunner and
Right.
everything, but I mean, I remember,
Mm.
the HDDQ a few years back that, ended at like 7 a.m. and boy,
Mhm.
have things changed.
Yes, yeah. There's been a lot of changes in the schedule too, and how the schedule is structured to avoid stuff like that. So we
Yeah.
don't drift 5, 6, 7 hours into the night that we didn't plan for originally. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's made a lot of good changes in that regard.
And you mentioned other events. Have you done work for other events, or is that just like submitting games?
I have done work for other events in the past. I will admit it's slowed down some, but
Mhm.
to shout out a few that I've worked with pretty regularly. The Midwest Speed Fest events, which are
Mhm.
Midwestern states and few speedrunning content. They've done live events, they've done online events. I've done a lot of like games committee or social media work or hosting and stuff aside from just doing runs as well. So definitely want to shout them out. Other events as well. I've done work for the fast-paced events in the past. Done game committee and volunteering and stuff for them. It's been a little bit since I've done that, but they're doing great work over there. Big shout out to them. Multithon as well, another event that I've particularly enjoyed and done some work with in the past. Um, and Yeah, and also Big Bad Gameathon, which I actually have
Mhm.
never like volunteered for. I've done runs for, but like that is an event I tune into all the time. So I know the love and energy that goes into making that event what it is. So definitely want to recommend that one too. And also just like be on the lookout for small events, like just small communities putting together things like that
Oh yeah.
Barbiethon one I mentioned. I love like I love putting some spotlight on those like smaller events that are just or like there'll be a lot of like events that are like mutual aid events for people that pop up, and those are more ad hoc obviously for when people need those things, but like I like pouring love, attention, and like volunteering into things that have direct impacts on smaller amounts of people too. Because I love raising millions of dollars for charity when we do these GDQ events, but sometimes it's also really nice a bit of fresh air to see how it affects people on a smaller level too.
Mhm.
So yeah, be on the lookout for stuff like that. And if just to plug this as well, how I started getting involved with more and more marathons because I didn't even know like where to find them. For example, um, there is a speedrunner in the community. His name is Ice Plug. He's done GDQs and stuff before. If you watch, he did a run a couple years back of the Incredible Hulk for Super Nintendo. That
Mhm.
might be what you know him from because that run was hilarious. He's a very funny and entertaining individual, but he also has social media accounts that tell you that do like a weekly drop of marathons that have submissions open that are
Mm.
starting and that are ending. So check that out. I don't have the ads off the top of my head, but if you search Ice Plug and find those channels, yeah, he just has a bot that posts them. And that's how I learned more and more about marathons.
Hmm.
So uh, nowadays we have resources like Angus and Hararo and stuff where you can like look at schedules a little bit easier. So there are websites to go to. But back in the day, I didn't know to look for things like that really. So check those out too.
Yeah, I was gonna shout out the website that I can never pronounce. That is how you submit like to every event now, except GDQ.
Yeah, is it Angus? The
Yeah, yeah,
OENGUS
yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever it is?
Is
Yeah,
that how
yeah.
you
Yeah,
pronounce it?
that's a
I don't
that's a
know.
that's how I pronounce it. I don't
Okay.
know if that's how it is pronounced.
I don't even
But that's
try.
how I
I'm
pronounce
just
it.
like that cool website that starts with O.
Yeah, Angus or something like that. Yeah, yeah. I pronounce it Angus. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, that's a good one as well because even if you don't have a direct link to a specific event, you can just go on Angus and then like you'll see upcoming events and things that have submissions open, etc. So yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. At any given time, there's like always an online event going on somewhere.
Mhm.
But we've been seeing a lot more
Yep.
in person as well, which is cool because that's a very
Yeah, that's
different
so much
vibe,
fun.
and but it does help smaller communities from different areas come together for something at least.
Yeah, yeah, a great place for yeah like-minded people to come together and congregate. Yeah, couldn't agree more. They're it's lovely to see that.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
we're infecting the world as speedrunners. That's good, right?
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Yeah, honestly, like that's one of my biggest takeaways over the course of this past decade is when I had started it. It was this like obviously I had heard of like people can beat these games in like certain amounts of time. I'd heard about that being a thing, but like speedrunning as like a community, as like a niche thing to do was not something that was really popular then. Like GDQs had just started taking off around 2015. I mean, obviously they had been doing them from before
Yeah.
that, but like we're starting to get into like the millions range of money raised, so that the popularity is exploding, and then more and more content creators come out and are able to make careers out of just speedrunning video games, and it's really wild to see how far it's come
Hmm.
in the decade since I started. So.
Yep. I mean,
Mhm,
I joined around the time content creators started, or like it's maybe 2 years. Um, I
mhm.
mean, that's how I found out about it. Just complete
Right.
random YouTube recommendation offshoot thing, and here we are. So
Mhm. And here we are, yeah, doing a podcast, 152 episodes.
yeah, it turns out I like speedrunning. Who knew?
Yeah. Who could have thought? Who could have thought?
Not me. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess that's everything I really have to ask. Kind of sped through it, but I mean,
Yeah.
you you said everything I usually
Yeah,
ask.
I tend to yap, so yeah,
I mean, that's
I'm a
good. That's what
yapper
we're here
sometimes.
for.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, that's what we're here to yap, so,
So,
but yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
yeah, no problem. I mean, is there anything that we didn't go over? that you'd like to? I mean,
No, not in
no.
particular. Just like a couple of shout outs and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Like I kind of alluded to, I don't particularly like stream or make content really on my own anymore. Sometimes I do. You can follow me at twitch.tv/Konception, which is down below as well. But like some things I want to shout out, like I said, check out those smaller marathons. You'll meet new people. You'll get involved in new causes that you might not have been as familiar with before, or learn about new charities as well. So definitely want to shout that out. Definitely check out GDQ hotfix content. Get involved with GDQ hotfix content as well.
Hmm.
Like they have open submissions. So like if you're wondering like, hey, if you are somebody who wants to be a GDQ runner at an event someday, or even just want to get more experience like running and broadcasting and talking about the game that you're doing, hotfix is a great way to do it, and it gives you a great VOD as well to use for other submissions. So check out the content and submit if that's something that interests you. And then yeah, watch GDQ as well.
Yeah.
It's a like this well, it will have just happened, but like go back and watch the VODs, or if
Yeah.
you're watching this live, we'll be live next week. So like
True.
come check us out, and if you have any money to donate towards the Prevent Cancer Foundation, we appreciate it for sure.
Every dollar counts. And then
Yes, it
I
sure
can
does.
definitely. I've done some hotfix work in the past. I can definitely give it a nice big recommendation. And to
Hmm.
self promote myself, right
Yeah, hit it.
after GDQ, because again, this drops right after it ends, but a few days after, there's usually a hotfix for the backup runs. And hi, I am backup runner. So guess who's there?
Yeah,
So it
with
all
it's with
works
Nippon,
out.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh, it's gonna be
we
fun.
we got to get
It's a
all the
great run.
Marios in GDQ at some
Mhm.
point. So, and technically, that's an official Nintendo released product. It's
Yeah,
it's got
it
a
sure is.
history. So someday we'll
Yeah,
explain it in detail on stage, surely. But
a-
I
absolutely,
just
for
need
sure.
someone to have an unfortunate accident to this event. No, no,
Well, let's not wish that on
no.
anybody, but yeah, you never know. You
Oh,
never you never know.
you know what? Better.
Like I said, that's
I have a better
yeah,
idea.
yeah. That's
Since it's only a 20
okay.
minute
Go for it.
run,
Go for it.
it's a 20-minute run.
Mhm.
Let's just hope everything flows so smoothly that there's extra time.
Yeah, exactly. I was
Yeah.
just about to say the same
Yeah.
thing. With how we structured the schedule and stuff, you never know. It might get picked up if we get it. We get some time back. You never know.
There,
You
that
never know.
doesn't harm anyone. So that's
Yeah,
much
perfect.
better.
Yeah, bonus.
Bonus content. That's what
That's right.
we'll see how it goes. But yeah,
For sure. For sure.
and I know you talked about like future game plans, but I mean, is
Mhm.
there any other stuff you plan on doing in the scene?
Yeah, I had mentioned I streamed the past couple days mainly just to prep for my own AGDQ run coming up as well, but I've been enjoying that. So maybe that will lead me to streaming a little bit more and learning some new stuff. But other than that, it's just going to be maintaining that status quo.
All right.
Just play, being in the occasional marathon, learning some new stuff, and then getting some funny, goofy stuff out there for people to watch.
Fair enough. It's nice to have a
Yeah.
nice, consistent thing to do. Kind of like this, I
Yes.
guess. But
Exactly. Yeah. Right. Right. I love consistency. I love routine. So yes, for sure.
speedrunners love consistency because a lot of the time it's hard to see that happen. But
Yes. Yeah, we deal with so much randomness that we appreciate the consistency when it comes.
of
Yes.
course. So, well,
Mhm.
GDQ. Let's hope for the best.
Yes,
But
here
yeah,
we go.
I'll leave it at
Can't
that
wait.
because we've covered everything. So, yeah.
Yes, no worries.
Well, as far as you're concerned, I have your links: Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, Blue Sky on screen. They will be in the YouTube description, so click on those. Um,
Wonderful, thank you.
check out GDQ next week, or if you're watching when this comes out, check out the VODs. I'm sure it went great. Um,
Mhm.
check out anything we talked about today. It's always cool. You can check out me too, I guess, but I mean, whatever, it's fine. And I guess that'll be all for episode 152. So,
Yeah. Glad to kick off Gen 2.
yeah. Gen 2, it took us almost 3 years, but we finally arrived.
Sounds good. I'm glad to be a part of it. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for coming on. Thank you, everyone, for
Mhm.
watching. Take care and have a good day. All right. Bye now.
Bye-bye.